Welcome to the Program Design Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Monique, teacher and curriculum writer turned program mentor and business strategist for coaches, educators, and online experts. Whether you're looking to create your first ever group coaching program or scale your current offer for more freedom, revenue, and consistent income, this is the podcast for you. Here you'll find practical strategies and encouragement mixed with a bit of manifestation and intuition to help you grow and design a program you absolutely love. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Program Design Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Monique, and in this episode, I want to dive into how you can fill your program predictably in 2026. Because I was thinking this month, what can I really do for my audience that's going to be especially helpful? Like, what do I really hear from my clients, from prospective clients? Like, what is the biggest problem that I can support you with? And the thing that I have heard again and again, which makes so much sense, is this fear that comes down to, what if I put all of this work into creating my program and I can't actually fill it? What if nobody buys? What if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't sell? What if I put so much energy into it and it just doesn't pay off? And I totally hear you on that. And that is why I'm recording this episode for you, because I want to show you that there's a completely different way to be able to fill your programs consistently, especially if you're someone like me who doesn't have a big audience, who doesn't necessarily see yourself as a natural marketer, who really sees yourself as a coach first. I want to show you how you can do it without the pressure, without the stress, and really grow your program sustainably. So that's what we're going to be diving into in this week's episode. But before we dive in, I want to share the workshop that I have been creating behind the scenes that aligns with this week's episode. And it is to help you, of course, fill your program. So it is a paid masterclass that I am running later this month at the time of recording. It's going to be on July 21st. And it is going to show you how to fill your program predictably, sustainably, so that you can really start to create a business that feels a lot more regulated, a lot more calm. And so it is called the Fill Your Program Framework. And if you want to dive into this, we're going to put the links in the show notes, but you're going to walk away with having a clear vision for what you're actually going to sell, what you're going to sell regularly. We're going to talk about your sales system. We're going to talk about how you can actually fill it, like what your mechanism's going to be. It's going to be super practical, very tactical, so you can walk away with a really clear plan at the end of it. It's not just a masterclass where you're just going to listen in and get some shifts. This is going to be something that is super hands-on, very practical. I'm only going to be opening up 20 spots because I love to really coach people through things and hear your business and give you personalized support. So it is coming up on July 21st. At the time of recording, it is only $27. I may be raising the prices for it in the future, but for now it's $27. So if you want to be one of those 20 spots, click the link on the bottom of the show notes, sign up for the Fill Your Program workshop. I would love to have you there. And I wanted to make sure I shared that before we dive into this week's episode, which is very aligned and gives you an idea of like the preliminary foundational work that goes into why this workshop is going to work for you. So let's dive in to this content today, how to fill your program predictably in 2026. So let's start with the biggest mistake that I see a lot of my clients making when it comes to selling their group programs. And I unfortunately my husband knew that I was making this mistake. And I just really couldn't see it. And now that I see my clients in it, I just so get it. And the mistake that I see coaches making is they are always creating new programs. They're creating new programs. And when I think about it, this is what happens, right? And this is why it feels so counterintuitive. Is you get an idea, you think about a group program that could work, you think about it, you start to create it, you actually sell it, people buy it, and you put a lot of effort into actually creating the thing, and it does sell. It does work to a certain extent, but here's the problem. For a lot of us, it doesn't sell the way we were hoping for. You don't sell as many spots as you were hoping to sell it, and so you put a ton of effort in to this program, and it doesn't give you a lot in return. So Financially, you don't get a lot back. It feels like a ton of effort. It doesn't feel very sustainable. And then you start to think, oh, like this felt really hard. This felt really heavy. Maybe this wasn't the right program. Maybe one of the other ideas that I had was actually the right program. And so you start to think, well, there was that idea, or there was that other program that I created in the past, or that wouldn't be a heavy lift. Maybe I should try that next. And that's when we get in this cycle of creating new programs. And I so get it, because I know for me, when I would create a new program, I would make, $2,500 or something like that off of like a program. And it made me a little bit of money, but I was like, this is not at all where I want to be. It's not making me enough money. It's not the right program. I should create something different. That was the thing that I was telling myself. And the reason that this is a mistake is that it keeps you in this creation process, and you're always creating rather than refining and optimizing and growing. So what I see here is that instead of creating many different group programs, we want to create one signature offer that you can sell again and again and again, that you can refine and improve on over time. And the thing that really hit me with this recently, and this analogy may land for you, it may not, but when I was mentoring teachers, one of the top reasons that teachers burned out in the first 5 years, which I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but a number of teachers leave the profession in the first 5 years. And from what I saw with my clients who were in the first 5 years of teaching, it wasn't the students who were rude or difficult or had challenging behaviors or whatever. It wasn't that they didn't have enough support at school, though that was a big one. It wasn't even difficult parents, which obviously was a huge problem. The reason they burned out was because they had to switch grade levels, and they were always changing grade levels. So I had teachers who had been in the profession for 6 years and they had never taught the same grade level, or they'd never taught the same subject twice. So like if you go from having to prep an entire year of grade 2 and then grade 4 and then grade 6 and then grade 3, you have to learn the whole curriculum. You have to prep everything. You have to you have to plan all your lessons. You're learning all brand new things. If you're teaching higher grade levels, you might be learning the content before you go to teach it. It's a massive undertaking, right? And you do that whole thing, you finally get some momentum, and then they're like, oh, you're not teaching that grade level anymore. You need to teach this one. And it makes sense, because when you're a new teacher, you have the least seniority. And so you get just stuck with whatever positions are available, right? And teaching gets easier when you're like my husband, who has now been teaching for, I think, 11 years, and he's been teaching the same thing over and over again. He's got his systems. He's got the thing down. He can innovate when he wants. He can coast when he wants. And he has so much more freedom and flexibility to coach a bunch outside of school hours and do different things that he wants, and coach both my son's soccer games and soccer teams and things like that, because he's not starting with new grade levels all the time. And the reason I bring this up is because this is what coaches do. We just aren't in the teaching world to realize that this is the thing. It's very well known in the teaching world, is that this is what we do. We are like, oh, I'm going to create a new program. And so we learn a whole new curriculum. And it's not just the curriculum and the planning and the prepping of sessions. It's also all the marketing, all the offer, all the sales system, all the messaging, everything that goes into creating this program. And instead of taking one and sticking to the same grade level and getting better and better at it, we're like, oh, that didn't work as well as I wanted, so I'm going to start something new. No. Then it's like you're a first year teacher every single year. That is not fun. Talk to any first year teachers. If you're not one, I'm guessing if you listen to the podcast, you probably have a teacher in your life. Ask them how their first year of teaching was. Most people say it was so hard. And that is what we're doing when we start new programs over and over and over again. So the first mistake that I see people making is that they start new programs instead of creating one signature offer that you can improve. So that is the first thing to think about when you want to fill your program. Counterintuitively, if it doesn't fill the way that you wanted, you don't start a new one. You refine the way that you're filling it so that it fills. You don't start something new. Does that make sense? It seems very counterintuitive. Like, it might sound logical when I explain it now, but when you go to actually do it, and you're like, I only sold 3 spots. You want me to go sell this thing again? And I'm like, yes. It feels very counterintuitive, right? So that's the first thing, is we want to have a signature program. And then to fill it consistently, we want to have one sales system. But here's the tweak that I have noticed that is working especially well for, I see it as a trend in the overall industry, but especially for women in business and moms in business. And when I first came into the online space in 2018, 2018. What the big thing that everyone was doing were big launches. Once a year launches, maybe quarterly launches, big launches where you have like, everyone taught me that you needed to grow your audience, grow, nurture. And then you needed a long pre-launch runway where they got to know you and you started to shift beliefs and it was this whole strategy. And then you needed this big launch and you needed affiliates and ads and big numbers so you could get a 1 to 3% conversion rate. And then you ran your program and then you did it all again. And I remember the first time I launched, I did a webinar. I was so incredibly nervous, like beyond like one of the scariest things I've ever done. And I used to think that it was running a webinar that was scary. And it was scary at the time. Now I run webinars all the time. I can do it, no problem, right? So partially it was that it was new. But the other reason that it was so stressful, it was because everything was dependent on this launch working. Everything was like all my income, all of the effort that I had been putting into the last few months, it was all dependent on this one moment. If I felt stressed that day, if the tech didn't work, if I was nervous for some reason, whatever, if like the smallest thing broke, it was really hard to fix it because it was like this one shot. Like you get one chance for the year, for the quarter. Like it's so high pressure, right? And what I am noticing in the online space as it evolves is that I am seeing the big names in our industry do far fewer big launches. Now, some people still do, and that's fantastic for them. But if you look at the people doing big launches, my guess is if you're listening, they are not in the same category as you and me. The people I see doing big launches are either childless men, notably, but especially men, or women who don't have their own children. Maybe they're stepmoms and they have their children part-time, or their kids are much older, teenagers, adults. If you are a mom and you have young children or school-aged children, even if you are a woman, I don't think big launches are really the best because they are so high stakes, so high pressure. And when you think about doing this big launch, like for me, it's like, what if my kid is sick and my kid is home and I have to do this one launch and I want to be able to be there for my child? Like there was a time when my younger one was 3, he's 6 now, when I was in and out of the hospital with him because he had a really, really bad case of strep throat. And anyway, I don't need to go into it. He was in and out of the hospital for a good 3 or 4 weeks. It was a big deal. Like, I don't want to be doing a launch and worrying about a launch when I want to be with my son at the hospital. Like, I'm not interested in that at all. Even when you think about women and how we are wired to be cyclical. And if you're going, okay, I am going to plan my launch for next year and it's going to be this date and we're going to spend months building up to it. How do you even know if it's going to be the right time in your cycle? How do you even know if it's like, how can you predict that that's going to be the time that's good, like you're going to go all in on? For me, like it is just so high pressure. It's not regulated. And if it doesn't work, you've got nothing else. Like I want to have multiple chances. I want to be like, oh, that didn't work so well today. I'm going to change it for next time and I get another chance. I want multiple chances to film my programs so that it doesn't feel so stressful for me. And so that it's like, when I really think about it, for some people, fantastic. They do those big launches and maybe they're the ones that are like all in on their business and they're working tons of hours, or they like they're speakers and really big visibility. But if you want a business that is like sustainable, that you're working, like I work 25 hours a week. Most of the time I work 5 hours a day. Like if you want a business that feels sustainable, if you don't feel like you're a natural marketer and that feels really high pressure for you, like there is another way to fill your programs that feels so much more regulated, so much more easeful, so much lighter. And that is to run your program on Evergreen. That is how to run your program on Evergreen. And so that is what I do now. And I want to break down what I mean by Evergreen in a moment, if you have never heard of this term, but I've been running my programs on Evergreen and it has completely shifted everything for me. So here's what I mean by Evergreen, because people have different definitions. And what I mean by Evergreen is you can have your program as a start-stop model, which means everyone starts at the same time, everyone ends at the same time. It's like one cohort. It's like the traditional model. Like when you think about universities and everyone comes to school on the first day of school, like that's that start-stop model, right? Like that's a more traditional way of taking courses or taking programs. What I'm suggesting is a more open enrollment model, an evergreen model. Now, it doesn't mean to me that your enrollment is open all the time. You can have regular intakes. There's lots of different ways that I teach this, and I have some of my clients have completely open enrollment. Some of them have specific intakes. We can work with your season and your offer and your industry and your audience, all of those kinds of things. But basically it's open regularly. People are coming in regularly, and someone's not starting all at the same time. So it's more evergreen is the idea. And that's the word that people use. And so what we need a system. So some people call it an evergreen sales system. I think of it as a repeatable sales system that you're running regularly to be able to fill your programs regularly. So that's why I have people who join my programs every single month, because I have a system that brings new people in when I have space for them every single month. And let me tell you, it is so much calmer. Like when I shifted to this, so much calmer and just way less pressure. So I did launches when I ran a membership. But the thing I did find about that is like I could run different launches whenever because it was a membership and it was recurring. So people could join and it didn't really make a difference when they joined, right? And so when I started running coaching programs and I started them like start, stop, I think my first program was like 6 weeks long. And then I started extending. I started to think back to when I had that membership and I was like, I could bring people in regularly. I would love to have this program be able to bring people in more regularly, because the reason I wanted to start going evergreen is because I wanted to be able to support people for longer. Some of my clients, my teacher clients, they only needed say 8 weeks with me and they made massive shifts. And the other people wanted to work with me for longer. And so I was leaving money on the table, not having a renewal offer, like something that they could continue working with me on. And B, I wasn't supporting them the way that they needed, because a lot of people could work with me a lot longer. So I wanted to create something where they did the initial commitment with me, but then they could continue working with me. And I also wanted to create something that didn't feel so high pressure, because the thing that I found is when I was running a program, even though it was technically a signature program, it was the one program I was selling. It was like, okay, I've got a few weeks to sell this thing. And if I don't hit my numbers, I don't have another chance to sell it again for 2 or 3 months. And that felt really stressful and very up and down in my revenue. When I decided to say, okay, I'm going to take it from a start-stop model to an evergreen model, then I could bring people in more regularly. And it was a lot calmer. People could stay with me for longer. So my revenue increased. The transformations that I offer people improved too. But the thing that I really especially love about it is that you don't have to have everything figured out, all ready to go and figured out perfectly. You don't have just one shot. You can try it for the month, see how it goes, and then be like, okay, this worked well. I'm going to try shifting this, and then I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to do it again. And if I don't get my sales that I'm hoping for this month, or that was on my goal for this month, that's okay. I can just do it again next month. And that is how you take the pressure off and you figure out your messaging, you figure out your sales system. It's just a much more easeful way of running business. And that's how I want to show you how to fill your program. When I was talking about the workshop that I'm going to run, Fill Your Program Workshop, this is the model that I want to show you how to start to integrate into your business, because it is such a game changer. So what it means to run an evergreen program, like I said, is that you are going from a stop-start model, which everyone starts together, ends together, to an evergreen model where people come in and you decide how often they come in. Do you have intakes, cohorts? Do you have it open all the time? And then how long do they stay? They can stay in for, say, a certain amount of time. And then you have a renewal process where they can stay month to month after that, or they can recommit. There's different levels. But basically, your program is ongoing. It's always running. And so it creates that consistency, that foundation for you in your business, rather than the booms and busts. So that's the idea of an evergreen program. Now, of course, there's more, the thing that you might be thinking of is okay, but how do I make sure people get results? How do I make sure everyone's supported? There's a few different systems around the delivery to set up your program so that it's set up for evergreen. I don't want to dive into that as much into this episode. I just want you to start to think about, what if you actually created a program that was evergreen, that was your signature offer, that you sold regularly, that you had a regular sales system for, that you could improve your sales system regularly? How much easier that would be. Because even when you think about like, there are a lot of like, when you think about the mentors that you look up to, like one you likely know is Amy Porterfield. Even she's doing this. She's not doing quarterly, yearly long launches anymore. She is running a regular system to bring people into her coaching programs. So like you can see a lot of people moving towards this model. And for me, it's just because it allows me to feel so much calmer, so much more regulated. But the other thing I love about it is I think it really meets our clients where they're at too. They don't have to wait a whole year to join your program. When they find you, they can join you shortly afterwards. So it's more on their timeline. And it also allows them to have the support that they need longer if required so that they can have deeper transformations. Like to me, it's just such a win-win. So I'm going to be diving into how to actually really start setting this up in my upcoming workshop. But I wanted to share a little bit about how to start thinking about that repeatable evergreen sales system to fill your programs consistently. So when I think about what you really need to have in place to make this work is you need to have what I call a repeatable sales system. So you have a sales system that is working regularly that you are improving. So what a lot of people do is they'll think, okay, I want to fill my program. What if I try, okay, I'm going to like post about it on Instagram. I'm going to send some emails about it. I'm going to chat to like past clients. I'll talk to these people. Maybe I'll do some speaking. And they do different things and it can kind of work a little bit. Like you can get some sales doing that. And it can even work to fill your pilot program. But the thing is, you need something more than that happens regularly, consistently, so you can optimize it over time. So one of the things that we're going to be looking at in that workshop is how you can set up your conversion mechanism. So the thing I love about a conversion mechanism is it takes away this idea that like, I'm bad at sales, I'm bad at marketing. It's like, no. This is like this, there's this formula, this thing that you can do, a formula that you can use and apply and put your own kind of spin on, your own messaging, your own niche to it. But it's like a proven formula that is this mechanism that people can apply to actually fill their programs. So the important thing about your conversion mechanism, so that might be a webinar, it might be a sales call, it might be a paid masterclass, it might be a low ticket offer to a high ticket offer. There's lots of different ones. The key for a conversion mechanism to work is that we don't want to just sell our programs like create a one-off post. We don't want to just assume that people are going to come to our website and buy our programs because no one wakes up in the morning and it's like, you know what I really want to do today? I'm going to buy a group coaching program. No, you might think, you know what I really want to do today? I want to go buy a pair of shoes. Yes, but not group coaching programs, right? We need to be a little more sophisticated in the way that we sell them. And so what I love about a conversion mechanism is it gives people the chance to get to know you, for you to build trust, for you to show your authority that you know what you're talking about, and for you to actually offer something that's valuable that they feel like, oh, wow, I really got something out of this. I wonder what else this person has to offer, or they hear about your program and how you can support them in a deeper way. It's not all sales. The thing to make a conversion mechanism work is it can't just be a giant sales pitch. People do that, but it's not going to build the trust that you need to really fill your programs consistently. So in that repeatable sales system, we want to have a conversion mechanism where people can get to know you. You can make your offer. They can join your program. And we need a way for you to actually fill that program regularly with having people coming into that conversion mechanism. That's really the foundation of it. We're going to go in deeper in the workshop that I'm going to be sharing. But when you have that system in place, when people are coming into your world and they can come to your conversion mechanism and they can get to know you, they can hear about your program, then you start to get some data. And you can start to say, oh, that worked really well. I'm going to do more of that. Well, that didn't work quite as well. I'm going to shift this. And you're just optimizing and refining and improving rather than starting from scratch and going like, how am I going to make money this month? Does that make sense? That's why I really love Evergreen, because then it's about, okay, I've got this system. I'm improving the system rather than all the stories we can make it mean when we don't fill our programs. Like, I'm not good enough for this. What if I'm not cut out for this? That was a failure. That was a flop. Like all the stories that we give it, when we can just go like, actually, no, it's just a system. I'm just improving my system. Then you can fill your program more regularly. You might not fill it right away, but you have so many more chances over time that eventually you will grow it to the place that you want because you continue to improve and improve and improve your sales system over time. So that's what I want to show you to help you fill your program. So let's recap what we talked about in this week's episode. So the first thing that I shared with you is that the biggest mistake that I see coaches making when it comes to filling their group programs is that they start new group programs all the time. And I totally have done this. Instead of starting new programs all the time, decide on one. Decide on your signature program, your signature offer, and you want to go all in on it. Even if it didn't sell the way that you wanted to, you can get it there. Like I remember once I was in a coaching program and Stacey Tushel came in as a guest speaker, as a guest coach. And if you see Stacey Tushel, she's pretty big now. I don't know how many millions she's at in her business, but she's like 250,000 followers on Instagram. She's a pretty big name now. And I remember asking her a question about my funnel, and she said, any funnel can work. You need to make it work. And that has stuck with me, is that when you're creating new group programs, you don't have the chance to get your funnel to work. You don't have the chance to get your sales system to work. You're just always starting new, creating new. You want to have one signature program that you can sell again and again, that you can improve. That's what gets you to fill it. You don't fill it the first time. Some people do, which is awesome for them. We love that for them. But most people, if you're anything like me, some of my clients fill their programs no problem. I had a client recently, I think she filled her program within 6 weeks, and it was all just past one-on-one clients of hers, and she just filled it so fast. And now she's just doing super well, right? I'm like, kudos to you. I love that for you. That was not my story. She did much better with my strategies than even I did, because she'd build out an audience and all that kind of stuff. But for most of us, you might not get the sales you wanted the first time, but when you go to sell it again and again, you stick to the same program, that's how you can grow it and fill it over time. So that's the first thing. Have one signature program that you sell again and again. The next thing we talked about is that big launches are becoming far less common in our online industry in 2026, especially for women when we want to think we're cyclical. Our energy is not the same every day. We want our businesses to reflect our ups and downs in energy and work with us rather than against us. And if you are a mom, or even if you have carrying responsibilities, you don't want to have one big high pressure launch one day, because if something messes up, I do not want that kind of pressure, right? I want to have regular intakes where I can have people coming in regularly. It works so much better for my life as a woman and as a mom. And I'm just seeing big launches are just not nearly as common. The thing that's really working now is having more of that evergreen, regular intakes, more consistent, dependable sales strategies in 2026. And I went from launching to evergreen back in, I want to say 2022, maybe 2020, and I haven't looked back. I've loved it ever since. And so when you think about going evergreen, we chatted about evergreen is when you have that open enrollment or regular intakes, your program is always running. So you can bring people in regularly. You can have renewals. People can work with you for longer. And to set up that evergreen sales system, of course, there's a lot of strategy that goes into it that we're going to be diving into in our upcoming workshop. But the basics that you need to have in place is you need a way to bring people in, and you need to have a conversion mechanism that is a way of offering value, of connecting with people, of showing them what you know, and then making that offer at the end. None of this let's just post and hope that people join our program, because I talked about it on Instagram stories one day. So if you found this valuable and you like this idea of filling your program consistently, regularly, in that more regulated way, I would love to have you join us in my upcoming masterclass on repeatable sales systems, and it's called the Fill Your Program Workshop. We're going to go dive into my framework, the Fill Your Program framework. You're going to walk away with that clear vision of that one offer, that signature program. We're going to look at your big picture strategy for your sales system, one that works for you. You don't need a cookie cutter. It's not a one size fits all. It's about what works best for you and your niche. And we're going to chat about that, and what your actual conversion mechanism is, one that works with your strengths, one that really aligns with you, your audience, how you want your sales system to look. We're going to be diving into that on July 21st. It's only $27, but I've only got 20 spots available because I want to cap it and make sure that I'm really supporting the people in the room. So if you want to join us for that, I'd love to have you sign up in the link in the show notes for the Fill Your Program workshop. If you've got any questions about it, you can always send me an email or send me a message on Instagram at laurenmonique.business. I would love to have you there, and I'd love to help you fill your program in 2026. So I hope this was helpful for you, valuable for you, and I will see you on next week's episode of the Program Design Podcast.